Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Aceikith Gaming, here with another placement game in League of Legends. This is the placement game number 6. A previous recording was placement game number 3. So we've done another couple of placement games from between the previous video to this one. Both of the matches went pretty poorly, I will be honest. Partially on my part as well. As we're learning how to play against some other ranked players. Obviously it's something pretty new, so we're starting to see less and less mistakes. At the moment, going into this game, we are 2 and 3. My aim really is to try and get equal by the end of our placement games, which ideally then we want to be 5 and 5. So really now coming into the halfway point, we need to win one more extra game compared to less. But look, and we're going to be staying optimistic about it. We're going in with a champion that I know personally very well, possibly my best jungle champion actually, Nunu Willump, who we played in placement game number 3. We started poorly in that game and placement game number 3. I managed to come back very well, but just deciding to play safely if we were on our own. When we came together as a group, we played very, very well together. So that is going to be the main aim in this. Obviously, Nunu Willump doesn't do a heavy amount of damage, but together as a group, they can be quite tanky. They have to deal a lot of damage to us, but by them having to come close to us, by looking at the whole entire enemy team, most of it is all AD, so they're going to have to come in pretty close. Nunu Willump does a very good ult with them all being quite close together. So we've got Aceikith top lane, which is very, very well known for being a split pusher. Possibly one of the best split pushers in the game. But if he doesn't get ahead early and doesn't become a primary target, say for example, or can't push very well, then he ends up being a sitting duck and his whole power goes to waste. So his aim of the game is try and be safe and try and build his stacks up, ready to be able to start pushing in hard in the late game, and maybe being a team fighting monster if he needs to be so. He's up against an Urgot, which is very good, but also does scale reasonably well. Doesn't scale as well as an Aceikith does though. For us, we are against a Garen, which Garen is more well known to be being a top laner, much like Urgot and Aceikith. So, but we do see some Garens take into the jungle every so often. But we still need to be careful because Garen does deal more damage than us. In the mid lane, we've got an Anivia up against a Yone. Anivia is known to be a control mage, and a very good control mage at that, ever since the start of Season 11, since her rework. But Yone is a very good fighter. Both of them scale pretty well. Anivia does have her slow and her stuns, so she has a very good kit, but does require a lot of mana scaling, so don't expect her to do a huge amount, except for the fact that they do have Electrocute as part of their main runes, and most Anivias do that. And that's to help them a little bit of damage in the early game, because they sometimes do require that. In the bot lane, we've got a Jhin and a Braum. So Braum is a very well mechanically well felt out champion, especially at the moment. Jhin is possibly the best AD carry at this point at the moment. I am actually doing my commentary about a month after this match. I will be honest. So there has been a few patches since. We're just going to go in for a top lane gank to try and help out the Nasus out. We're going to try and push the Urgot very, very hard. We are to try and force him to go back as far as possible, because he has just used his W as well. You can see he starts going out with his W again, which none of us are even near him. We're then going to rotate down to the Scuttle Crab on the top lane river, and Garen just happens to be there, and Urgot is coming down as well, so I decide I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm not going to risk getting caught. I'm just going to get out there as quickly as possible. So I can see as well that the bot lane is a little bit pushed in. I think the only way I'm going to get any scuttles is if I've got to go there right now. I've got no choice. But thankfully, if it's needed, Anivia will rotate down to help me out a little bit. But she is taking a little bit of damage from the Yone, so I've got to be aware of that. But it seems like that the Anivia has got a very good defensive plan strategy down at the moment. But we don't want a Yone to get ahead either. So going back to the bot lane, we've got a Jhin AD carry with a Braum support. The enemy team has got a Samira with a Lux support. So it's a very high bursty damaging bot lane that we've got on the opposing side. At this moment, when I did play this game, Samira was an absolutely busted AD carry. She's not quite as much now, but she can still do a pretty hefty amount of damage if given the chance. Lux is obviously one of those supports that doesn't really support the AD carry per se. It is more to do with the fact that they do stun, as Yone goes in with a ignite on the Anivia. Anivia has a passive, obviously, as you can see there, so she resurrects. So she's lost her passive, but she still stays alive. Yone is not credited with the kill. But it does mean that Yone knows that she won't be able to do that again for a while. So I'm now just going to carefully place a couple of wards around. And Garen just happens to be there at that very moment. Obviously, a good Garen will know that I won't be able to do as much damage as him. See what he does. And I just try and scare him away a little bit. Obviously, I believe the MMR is around about high silver to low bronze. I feel at the moment. Obviously, going into this game, we are bronze 2. So, and obviously, if we start winning a few more games, we can start heading into bronze 1. I'm not sure how it will work, but we could even get into silver 4 by the end of our placement games. But we do need to play well. Obviously, remember during my placement, during my third placement game, I made the mistake early on by trying to chase down the Jax in the jungle, and I ended up getting zapped by Fizz and giving him the first kill of the game. I don't want to go doing that again if I can help it. So I'm going to be focusing on just trying to help my teammates out a little bit more. Not going to try and greed for kills as much. I've already learned that mistake from what I did previously. So that is pretty much the main aim, is do not greed for kills when I don't need to. But at the moment, we're a little over 5 minutes in, and no kills for either side yet so far. So normally you'd find that there is a kill in one lane somewhere in around about, I'd say about 4 to 5 minutes, but there hasn't been one yet. I did another, I didn't really go in for a gank into top lane. It was more seeing if the Garen was around there. I now rotate down to a mid lane. Yone is forced to boost to focus upwards into the Anivia. The Garen just happens to be ganking mid lane as I'm doing the same as well. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit slow to react on the Garen. But now, like, obviously, both me and the Yone are following down together. And Yone immediately forces me to back off. Yone ends up ulting me, thinking that he can possibly kill me. I am quite low on health, so I've got to back now. Otherwise, I am going to get killed. So I do ping that to Anivia, and Anivia is still being chased down by the Garen. But she ends up being executed underneath the tower, which is a good thing. Because when you think about it, normally it's not the best of things, of obviously being executed under a tower. But she's being chased down by somebody, you know, they are definitely going to get caught. So they definitely would have been given the kill if that was the case. A couple of kills have just happened down in bot lane as well. Jhin ends up getting a kill on the Lux. As well as that, there was a kill on the Braum as well, but that was the Lux who is the support. So I'd say that that is actually good all round. That the Jhin ends up getting a kill, and the Lux gets a kill. Of course, Lux can take control of the game herself if she's needing to do so. But obviously she's the support. Ideally, you want to be giving the kills to the Samira. So we are around about 8 minutes in. The first Drake has still not been taken up yet. The first Drake is an Inferno Drake, which is ideal for both teams, because both teams ideally can actually do quite a hefty amount of damage altogether. You know, like you've got a Jhin who can do very good amount of burst damage. You've got an Anivia that does a lot of damage with her ult, say for example, as well. Nasus in the late game will do a huge amount of damage as well. On the opposing side, Urgot can do a nasty little bit of damage, and he does have lifesteal as well. Yone can do a huge amount of damage, and so does the Samira. So whoever gets this Inferno Drake might actually do quite well. I'll start thinking about a gank in bot lane. It doesn't quite work out because I get ulted down by the Lux. Jhin ults, I don't think it was in exactly the best of places. And as you can see on the camera there, at the same time, the Garen was just heading down to bot lane as well. So it does lead me to believe that he's possibly around the area. I don't see him come up on the map again. So it might be something that I just need to keep aware of. I use my flash and my Q, so in that way I can get as much of my health back as possible. Because I do have a lot of sustain in the Q, especially when I am low on health. And obviously the smite is going to give me some health back as well against larger monsters. That's another thing to keep an eye on. Now, here's an interesting thing. Normally, ideally, you don't want to be giving your blue and your red as soon as this. This would have been only my second blue of the game. But my thinking is that the NVIDIA does need mana an extreme amount. She really does require that mana scaling. So my thinking is that I'm not thinking about the right here and now. I'm thinking about a little bit later on. So I give Olivia my blue, thinking she's going to need it now more than I do. I'm not going to be using my abilities as much as she is. So I feel like this is definitely the correct call. Of course, some more experienced junglers might say to me, actually, you shouldn't do that. You should really focus more on yourself. You know, but this is all a learning experience. So I see that Garen's ganking onto bot lane again. So I'll just stay around this area to see what he does. The Lux, I incidentally show myself as well to the Lux. So I end up having to rotate into the enemy team's jungle, which isn't an ideal placement. Now, if obviously this would have been a higher ranked game, I'm pretty sure I would have been punished. And I would have had to have done the exact same thing that the NVIDIA did earlier on. So, and even the Yone is starting to actually gank onto the bot lane now. Yone starts thinking about maybe trying to do a little bit of damage onto me, but I end up ulting onto the Yone. The NVIDIA is starting to rotate down as well. So we're now starting to push quite hard onto the bot lane now, with the Garen and the Yone in it as well. So we end up pushing back 4 different players. And Urgot and Nasus are both just returning to lane from top lane. So either one of them two could have TP'd down if either of them had it. So my focus is now is that the Garen's having to back up. So it could be a good opportunity to do one of two things. Is either counter jungle against them or get the Drake now. I could do one of either of two things. Of course, now I've just seen that the bot lane's turned back, but it does seem like that the NVIDIA wants to get the Drake done. She then happens to see the Garen in the tri-bush near bot lane. So she ends up just killing the Garen completely. So now, as long as I do a decent smite, this should be our first Drake. No questions asked. And do quite a lot of damage with my Q anyway. So that just basically just seals it, really. Like Nunu Willump is very good on ganks. He's also very good on objectives as well. So, okay, I would probably say if you want a jungler that that you've not done jungling before, you want to learn jungle, but you know you want things to be a little bit easy. Nasus just gets a kill on the Urgot, by the way, so you can see that the Nasus is already starting to get ahead. But yeah, if you want a good starting jungler, I would recommend Nunu Willump. He's got great sustain, he's got great ganking potential, he's got great objective potential as well. To me, he's probably one of the best all-round junglers in the game. And I would say, really, to be honest, there's certain things that you can learn definitely from playing Nunu Willump as well. Like, you know, like he's not one of those kind of like junglers that, you know, if you make a mistake, oh, that's okay, you can just get out of there very easy. You know, it's nothing like that. They still teach you, you know, that if you do make these mistakes, you still do get punished. So you do got to be aware of your awareness, but he does have good amount of escape as well with his W and his E. And he can start up and engage in fights as well. That's another thing to learn, because like, there's obviously a few fundamentals within jungles that not a lot of players do very well. The Samira gets a shutdown on the Jin. So they ended up having a fight while Braum was actually out of lane. I think he was just placing some wards down. And the Jin ended up getting caught out by the Lux and the Samira. Which is definitely not ideal. Because now any amount of gains that he did have earlier on, that's now gone away. At the same time, NVIDIA gets killed as well. Which is, that again is not ideal. Herald is up as well, so I'm a little bit aware of that could have been done. Thankfully they're not doing it right now because I didn't know where I was. Now here's an interesting thing. I've just caught the Urgot, who was actually doing the Scuttle Crab for the top lane. The Urgot then has to flip over the Nasus. I'm there as well, so it forces the Urgot to flash away. So that is a pretty interesting thing to do. Of course, I've got to be aware because I can't see the Yone again. And I don't know where the Garen is either. I haven't seen him in a while. So, and they could be in that bot lane river waiting for me. The Garen could be on the other side of the map as well. So, the NVIDIA is doing the correct thing, I feel, as well. Like you can see on the mini map to the right of me that she is possibly taking blue there again. I don't mind that. I'd rather her take it because that will help her out in the long term. Samira gets a kill on the Braum this time around. Possibly an attack under tower. As I'm going to rotate down, I end up getting caught out by the Garen and the Yone. So I think, right, I'm going to just try and get away as fast as possible. But I end up using my flash in a bad way. End up flashing the wrong way. So what's happened is that my mouse cursor was to the left hand side of my champion. NVIDIA ends up getting a kill on the Garen, a little bit overextending maybe, but he did get a kill on me, so maybe you could say it's worth it, question mark. But for the Yone, I would probably say that's not worth it, because now he's got to deal with a champion that if they go back soon and they don't get a kill on them soon, they're now a little bit ahead, because of the fact that now, as you can see, he's got Garen's red buff as well. So, as well as being able to do gain extra mana, they're also gaining extra AoE damage, and they're also gaining extra health as well. So, not ideal for the Yone. I just pinged to the team to say that the Mountain Drake is up. The one thing that we've got to be careful of is that Urgot is a really good team fighting champion. Especially on champions where if they were fully AD, where they would have to be very close up, he can do a lot of damage to a bunch of enemies all at once. For some reason, you can see the Garen just goes blindly into our team, but I was ready for this game. I was pretty much expecting this, so we end up getting a very good kill on the Garen, as you're about to see there. So I get the kill on the Garen, then Jin gets a kill on the Lux and the Samira. So I get a kill, Jin gets a double kill. This now leaves us to be able to do a very easy second Drake. So the first two Drakes could be about to become ours unless Yone does something magical, which you never know. He can do something, and there you go. He comes in with an ult, with an E as well. He takes down the Braum, but his E ability has run out, so he gets forced to back away. The Jin has just done the first turret of the game, so that's some extra bonus gold for the whole team. As well as that, we also get the second Drake. So the first Drake was Inferno Drake, that gives us increased damage. We've also got Mountain Drake as well. So we're now going to be fighting for a Cloud Soul, which will give us increased movement speed. Of course, it's going to give us increased movement speed around certain areas of the map, particularly in the jungle areas anyway. But we've also got the Mountain Drake, which will give us bonus armor resistance. Well, it will give us armor resistance, and it will also give us magic resist, which is ideal for myself in particular, and also the Nasus, you could say. Possibly even the Braum it would actually be good on as well, actually, in fact, because he is a tanky type of support. So, like, altogether, I would say that the game is actually going reasonably well. For us, we're not making as mistakes as we're going for another top game gank. And just look at the damage that Nasus is already able to do. Like, he might be a level ahead of the Urgot, and that kind of does help. But at the same time, you know, he just does so much damage. And Garen just ends up just ooga booga into myself. And the Nasus is now going to start a lane fight with us as well. End up ulting possibly a little bit too late. So end up cancelling it straight away, because otherwise I'm not really going to get anybody in it. But I can see that now I'm a little bit high in gold. Possibly at this point, now looking back at this, because I have looked back at this game a couple of times already, since I played this game and up to now. Really looking at this, I should have been doing held. But I think my thinking of it was that I looked at the time and I thought, I'm not going to get the held done quick enough. But if I had assistance from the team, I possibly would have been fine and I would have done it. The Borm overextends a little bit and gets killed in the process. But the Jhin does so much damage, although he is very close up, that he ends up just zapping away at the health bars of Samira and Lux again. And yeah, like, it just seems like that at this very moment in time that not many champions have an answer to say to at least a Jhin right at this very moment. So I'm going to go back because I've got a high amount of gold. Plenty of gold to be able to spend on a Sunfire Aegis. Buy another control ward. Nope, I actually decided no, I don't actually want that because I've already got one. As well as that, I'm going to buy some components to try and build my second item, which is going to be a Dead Man's Plate. So it's going to be a little bit easier for me to be able to chase down onto enemies, which is something that Nunu Willump kind of does need to do. So yeah, like, the game's going pretty well. We've only got one kill so far, which is on the which is obviously on the Garen when he tried to gank bot lane, which I ended up counter ganking, ready for that gank to start up. And he wasn't really ready for me to counter gank, I don't think, really, to be honest. Specifically, I'd say maybe it was more to do with the opposing team wasn't ready. Like, you can see already, look at all that damage. Like, when you think Garen's supposed to be a tank really, in a way, like a tank / fighter, but Jhin just zaps his health away as if, like, you know, he's a squishy champion. So it does seem like that's the Lux and the Samira trying to take down the bot lane tower, but Anivia's going to put a stop to that. She does have a very good amount of control, so I would say it's a good idea to maybe just push them both away, so that way they don't gain access to certain areas of the map. Yet again, Anivia just pinged over to say, I'm just going over to blue buff, which I'm fine with. You know, G, at this point especially, she has shown that, you know, she has definitely needed it more than me. And I'm fine to give that up, you know, because that's going to, yet again, like I've said before, you know, it's not just going to be the mana, it's also going to be the XP as well. So, ends up starting up another fight. I think in top lane it was Jhin and Born. Born goes down to a Garen and an Urgot, which I'll probably say isn't the most ideal of fights to be wanting to take on, even if Jhin does do a high amount of damage, because Born doesn't do a high amount of damage, and while maybe he's a tank support, he can only take so much damage, really, to be honest. He's not a main tank. You know, he's not like, say, for example, a Rammus or an Amumu or Nunu Willump, which we're playing right now. He's not that kind of tank that can just take all the absorption of the damage that is right there. I end up going in for my snowball a little bit too early. As you can see, I just thought, let's get this extra Drake done now. My entire team are so well thought about. Like, you can see, the Nasus has actually started to rotate down into, like, mid lane and into bot lane as well, a little bit. Like, I'll be honest, at this point I was actually a little bit surprised to actually see a Nasus fighting with Drake, but that is just how much, you know, how well he has been doing, that he feels like he's got enough stacks that he doesn't need to just be in top lane and be AFK, as some people would put it. Because that's one of the downsides to being a Nasus, is that sometimes you don't have enough stacks, or you don't have enough of a creep score, that you do need to kind of stay up there. And that is when you start getting caught out a lot of the time, because it's like, I've got to stay up there, because otherwise I'm not going to gain advantage from my passive. But because he's been given them stacks practically, I guess, by the Urgot, because the Urgot hasn't been able to abuse him enough and bully him out of lane, Nasus has been able to not just get ahead, but he's also been able to just do so much damage. And they're getting a really good stun with the Urgot, with the Anivia, and the Borm does end up using his ultimate as well. The Yone starts getting in his ult. He's gonna be very nearly dead for it, but he ends up killing myself in the process, and he almost kills the Anivia, which I believe now he's just about. The Anivia almost has to go into her egg to be able to. So in that way she can regain her health again. But you can see how well we're all playing as a group. Like this by the way is only my second death of the entire game. This is like I'll be honest, like you obviously saw me in my third placement game before, that we didn't play the best of early games, but just by us playing smart, and that's all we've needed to do is that, and now we're actually doing a lot better compared to before. So, you know, like Nasus is even playing extremely well to the point where he's now rotated down to bot lane, is increasing so much pressure just because he's there. That's how quickly he's been able to clear up lanes, because his stacks have just been so powerful, and he's gaining stacks ever more to a point where now, like, you can see the Samira started to rotate down the bot lane again. Like, I guess that is her lane, you know, and she's trying to protect it, but it's kind of like forced her, really. Ideally, Urgot should be there, really, to be honest, defending that. But obviously, he's defending top lane from the Anivia and the Borm, which we're not too far away ourselves. The Borm is going to recall. I can see that the Lux is just starting to go backwards. But yeah, like I'd say, altogether as a team, we're doing quite well. We just need to remember that, you know, as the game goes longer, the more of a threat we are. We've got Nivea that does extremely good scaling damage. It's not just that. We've also got Nasus that is doing extremely well, you know, at this point of the game. Like, at this point in the game, Nasus shouldn't be ahead, you know, in my point of view. You know, some players may think, no, that's actually correct. Around about this point, they start to get ahead, maybe. But, you know, I feel at this point, normally, in this kind of ranking system, is that that the Nasus should not be this far ahead, this early into the game. The Jhin is taunting the enemy team a little bit of BMing from him, I'll be honest, but he ends up having the Nasus capitalise on that, on possibly a little bit of frustration from the Garen that he's not really been able to do a hefty amount of kills, which makes him become very unbeatable pretty much in certain times. But because of that, we end up using his anger in a good way. Yone misses his ult, so he ends up having to retreat. The Urgot is a little bit overextended, maybe. Well, certainly is the Samira, because she ends up going into the entire enemy team and gets taken down. The Urgot, yes, she was a little bit overextended, but probably didn't help in the fact that that he was there. The Lux gets taken down on the tower, and there you go. That's game over. They surrender. Pretty much at that point, because we're just that far ahead. And if a team is that far ahead when they've got a Nasus, there's very, very few times where a team can come back. The only way is if they get a very good team fight, they kill the entire enemy team, and the reset on the death countdown is just that long, like over a minute, that they can go from their base up to our base, clear a couple of towers, and then enough take down the Nexus. So that's that. So we end up 1, 2, and 8. So not the best of KDAs, but we only get killed twice. One from a team fight, which, to be honest, I feel it's worth, because that allowed us to pressure the tower anyway. And the only other death that we got was just, unfortunately, just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, so them type of deaths is just going to happen, but maybe because that our mid laner wasn't there at the time. Maybe we shouldn't have been there, and we should have gone a little bit further up into where our towers are, so that way I'm not getting caught. Because in that very middle part, we don't know where they are. They could be anywhere. So that's something else to take note of. But yeah, like, we don't do a great amount of damage, but You know, with us being a tank, that's not what we're meant to do. We're meant to basically absorb a lot of the damage, and that way our AD carry does all the work, which we end up being able to do, which is obviously a very nice feeling. So we win that game. So we've done 6 placement games. We are now 3-3. So I will say this now. My next 4 placement games that I do will all be support games. So that's going to be it for the placement games where jungle is concerned. But we're now going to move over to support for our remaining 4 placement games. By the time that I've actually commentated on this game, obviously it's been a month or so ago. You can see it's the 5th of February. We're now in March. That's how long it's taken. I'll be honest. So I do apologise for the rate of like how long it's taken. But that being said and done, now I've commentated over this. I've actually done another couple of support games, which I'm going to be commentating on. And I will be honest, both games were very, very more of like, any team could have won the game. It was not one-sided at all. It was basically whoever gets that last team fight and is able to capitalise on it, they can win. It's one of them type of games where anything could have happened. So it will be great to see. Don't forget, if you do like the video, to give it a like, and also subscribe to the channel if you do want to see more videos, and also click the bell button if you do want to be notified, because that does help out as well, if you do want to be able to see videos as and when they are uploaded. But I do hope you enjoy the video, and I hope to see you again soon.